picked the wrong week to quit sniffing glue.
We all live in a yellow submarine, yellow submarine, yellow submarine.
Well, good morning. It's Monday again, and you know what that means. It's another start of a fun-filled week of building models. First up this week, I need to finish up the tug, the Starfleet tug. It's done. I just need to weather in that last little strip, and I'll show you how I do that. But this last weekend, I went down to Columbia, South Carolina. Not that long of a trip, to go to the IPMS Nationals, or the Nats, as they call it. Going to the Nats. It was quite interesting. You know, IPMS not exactly my bag because it's technically wonderful modeling being done, but sometimes they get they have the reputation of getting a little full of themselves about their particular favorites, and they don't give the kind of attention to sci-fi and figures and things like that, which is where I'm more interested in. I mean, it's a great big cornucopia of a world, and we don't all have to like the same things, but I can appreciate the technical skill it takes to make a lot of those kits, and there's some excellent stuff. It's just not 100% my bag, but had a great time. My good friend Steve at Cult TV Man was setting up a booth, so I was able to hang out and feel a little bit more at home, surrounded by sci-fi kits and things like that. So it mitigated some of the other influences, shall we say. No, had a good time, but did not take anything to enter, because you know my history with entering things with IPMS. But had some good friends down there, got to catch up with some people and spend some quality time, and that's always good. So back from that, back to reality, back to what I call reality. And first thing I said is we're going to finish up the tug, and then we're going to start on the next project. And I was thinking all weekend of what the next project was going to be, and I had to think, okay, I have the kit, I have the space to put it when it's done. I have all the accessory kits. You know, buying a model, the cheapest part about it is the model. Everything else that you add on to it is where you can spend too much money. But so I had all those parts. I had to make sure when I got home I checked that I had all the add-ons. So I'll show you that in a minute. But first, let me show you where we are with the tug. Okay, continuing detail work on the tug. This fancy-dancy shield here is just to keep the canopy clean while I do anything else, because I need to touch paint up around here, and I just don't want to get anything on that canopy. So what I've also decided to do, and you may have noticed this detail here, and that is I cut some shapes out of vinyl just to help define those beacons, because they looked odd just shining out of there. So without some sort of decal, or I didn't want to paint a line around her because I'm not that good. But I can cut thin vinyl. And I've replaced these with vinyl. I've just gone over top of them. And it satisfies my itch to get some actual black back on there, and gives them a little sense of dimension. Had I known it was going to be this easy, I probably would have not put the decals on there in the first place and just used those. But the things you don't know until you try. I'm replacing some of these little dots, and I may put some more of them on with this. But now that I've got this covered, I'm tempted. I'm tempted to go out and see if I can find a can of satin and hit this with a clear satin, now that I've got this covered to where I'm happy with, just to see if it'll bring that black back up on those decals. It's not as humid as out today as it has been, and maybe that will help, and I'll shake it really well. There's no getting over this. This is just never going to get brightened back up, I don't think. So I can't replace, that's what I mean. Even though it's black, it's just too many of them. But if I can get some more definition back up here and here, then I'll be happy. But I thought I'd introduce you to the next kit. It is the Mobius Flying Sub. Da 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 da. You may notice it's done a little bit. It's a little bit done. That's because, and here's the inside, which is also a little bit done. And that's because in the years, many years ago, when I got this kit the first time, or the only time I got this kit. I built only as much of it as I needed to do the painting masks for it. I sell masks for the floor and for some other bits, most notably for the stripes. That's why the stripes are done on the fins. So I did that much of the work and then stopped. I got hooked onto something else, and frankly, back then my skills weren't quite up to par. So I was looking through, thinking what to do after the tug, what to build next, and I was going through the stash. When I go through Lou's stash, not this lustrous Lou's stash, the stash of models, and I pulled this one out and said, you know, this has got a lot of things in common with the hopper that I just did. It's got an interior that fits inside the rest of the kit. It's got dials and gauges and blinking lights and the opportunity to detail it and personalize it and all that kind of stuff. And frankly, back then, I don't think I was up to it. Now like I said, I've got that experience under my belt and ready to tackle it again. First, I had to check to make sure I had all of the extra parts, you know. And I did. I had Paul's etch, and I have the lighting kit from a gentleman named Gil Hernandez of Just an Illusion. It's I'm afraid to say it's out of production. This was so long ago that I don't believe Gil makes the kit anymore. But it has something neat that I'm looking forward to working with, and that is a piece of light sheet for the floor. This is the painted floor, pre-painted floor, ready to go. But it had a thin piece of light sheet so that you can light the underneath of the floor. So the first thing I need to do is to take all of these wall sections out and prepare them for the photo etch, because they all have gauges and dials that need to come off so that I can light them. So that's going to be job one, and I am going to start tackling that tomorrow morning. Okay, starting serious work on the little yellow submarine. And what I want to do first is to finish cutting out all of these. Now, these panels, originally, I was only going to smooth them off and use the brass like so, like Paul recommends, but I've decided I want to go ahead and try to light them, which means I've got to cut through them. So what I want to do is map out the open spaces on these and then make sure I cut behind them so the lights can shine through. That's going to be slow and tedious work and probably take a good chunk of today to do. So, well, it's taken a good chunk of time, but it is progressing. I got the first two, or the only two on this panel, and I cut out slots to run, I guess in this case, fiber optics through there. And putting the little handles on the cabinets there, which meant getting rid of the old handles and then popping these new ones in place. Decided not to do the thing about opening this up and making it a storage part, because that way I think I've already kind of explored that with the hopper, and I didn't really feel like doing it again here. So onto these bigger panels now. I kind of cut my teeth on the easy ones, and now I'm going to the bigger difficult ones. Here's a quick anatomy of a photo etched panel. There's where the panel or the detail was on the kit. First of all, you flatten everything down that is the raised detail on that part. Then I just cut through where the actual light is coming through. This is where it's handy to have a light table to work on. You can see where the light's coming through. This is the photo etch piece. Now, I'm not interested in lighting that circle right there or the rectangle below it, because I believe those are speakers and not lights, and I don't want to light them. I only want to light the 6 in the corner and the, what is that, 12 along the middle. So take this piece, glue it down to that piece, and there you go. Bob's your uncle, and you've got a panel. And you can pass your light through just those two areas. In other happy news, I just went out and brought the tug back in. I had put a coat of satin on it this morning, and to seal in that vinyl that I had replaced those black hash marks with, and it actually seems to have deepened the blacks back down. Not to where they were to begin with, but certainly better than they were. So I think we have a happy resolution to that. There's all the lights burning in the back. I left this with a flat finish, but I did try to put some satin over top the rest of it, and of course kept the canopy clean as possible and immune from all of that damage. But I think it actually brought that black hash stripe out a little bit more. So crisis averted for the most part, but still never again will I trust a nearly empty can of flat clear paint, because it just means all the flat pigment is sitting at the bottom waiting to jump out and land on your kit. So I'm going to take a little bit of a polishing cloth to this and try to clean that up a bit and put it on the shelf as a done thing. Well, look at this. It's a few hours later and I have got the lion's share of all of the etch on. Look at these two walls that have the big channel, or the big chunks. I got the you can see them reflected in there, the little door handles. These were the first two. Got off to a bit of a rocky start, but I think I picked up steam. That was probably the easiest one to go in. And the ever popular console. Now there are 3 bits here on the console I cannot put in yet. And can you guess which ones they are? Yes, they are the ones on the 2 scopes and the TV screen, because I need to get backlit film behind those. So those are right here. Don't worry, I've not lost them, but I need to keep them secreted away in a special underground bunker until I am ready for them, because they are prone to get lost. They are just that size. And got these bits on the side. Now these chunks here I'm not going to try to light, because I don't want to. These ones, obviously everything behind them will be lit. You can see the holes. If I shine it up there, you can see the holes for the lighting. So this is all to a point now where I can put a primer coat on top of all of that to kind of hopefully get in between the brass and the plastic and maybe fill in some light leaks, things like that. But these all are ready for a coat of primer. It looks like I've got beige painted on some of these walls. And yes, those were for the pictures like I mentioned earlier. But these will all be repainted, and I am fully aware of that. Doing some work on the chairs, and I've discovered what is probably the worst thing about picking out parts that you've had in a box for years and never really looked at or cleaned. And that is, Drew, I love you, but you gave me 3 left arms and only 1 right arm. So I finished the first chair, which is this one with the lovely replacement arms from Drew. All so far so good. Lovely. I go to do the second chair and find 2 copies of the right arm and no left arm, or 2 copies of the left arm and no copy, oh come on, of the right arm. I've got glue on it and it's jumping all over the place. So we are going to have a set of mismatched furniture. See, there are the 2 left arms. And here is the completed chair to show you the left arms in place. 1 right arm, 1 left arm, 2 left arms. So I'm going to go back and use the kit arms for the other chair. So we're going to have 1 chair that's got Drew's arms and 1 chair that's got the kit arms. Okay, after due consideration and trying to get things to fit and seeing how badly they won't, sorry Drew, I'm not going to use your pilots. Well, welcome back, and we are continuing work on the flying sub, and the first thing you may notice is a shocking lack of yellow. Yes, wanted to take time to do some priming on the hull, just to see, because the yellow will not show up flaws nearly as easily as the primer coat, as far as seeing if there's any odd dips or sinkholes or anything that needs to be addressed. I did notice that little bit of a dent here. Let me point it out to you. It is a sink line where this bulkhead kind of attaches, and you can see there's an indent. If you there, maybe if I can put a shadow on it, there you go. You can see there's an indent there. So I'm going to want to take a very thin line Bondo up, spot putty and level those back out. They're noticeable on both sides, but the good news is there's not any really big sinkholes to worry about. So that will keep, since this is such a fun and aerodynamic and smooth hull, something like that really sticks out. So at least it does to me. So that's something to take care of. And we're back at working in the interior of the cabin. I cut a little yellow pentagon. Wait a minute, no, that's yeah, that's six-sided. Okay, it's neither. It's yeah, it's six-sided. Anyway, it's not a pentagon. So I cut a little detail to go on that floor, and I'm playing with the walls and seeing how they need to go in and all of that, and noticing that the photo etch is nicely covered. And I'm thinking again about the pilot situation. That's what the two chairs look like, one next to each other. I had decided not to use the pilots, and I have yet another good reason, and that is they block. The pilots will be in the way of the consoles. If I want to close this up, and I've seen many people do this now, and that is to make this removable so that you can look in. I don't know if I'm going to do that. So you're very, very limited into what you can see. Basically, you've got what you can see through the back door, which is nothing more than that tunnel, really, because the tunnel does a quick little jog like that, so you barely see a lot of the detail that is in the cabin. Most of what you're going to see is happening in the front windows. And if you have pilots sitting in those chairs in their front windows, you close off a lot of your options for visibility. So reason number 1 and 2 not to put pilots in there. Here is my simple plan for lighting the reactor wall. If you remember the Hopper build, which this build shares a lot of similarities with, you'll remember the multicolor lights that I used in the for lighting of the consoles, the instrument consoles, and it was just a simple 5mm, I guess you would call it, I don't know what, the multicolored bulbs. Anyway, so I took 3 of those, and I'm going to put them behind the reactor wall. And there's a bit of a diffuser on there. I just need to build some sort of box to go behind it, and you have, voila, instant reactor wall. Okay, and while we're on the topic of lighting, I want to talk to you about, or show you how Gil Hernandez of Just an Illusion has come up with this brilliant idea. And again, it is brilliant. It deals with light, therefore it has a double meaning. But here's your typical console. Hello, typical console. What you would normally do is you could either run a ton of fiber optics to each one of those lights, but in this case, the color of the light is going to be dictated by the overlay of the decal that Paul has provided. So I don't have to worry about sticking a bunch of fiber optics through that. But I want a good even light behind there. So here's bulb A behind console B, and you try to get some light through there. You can either build a box to go behind it and try to stick a light in it like that, which is a lot. You know, you can do that, but it's some work. What Gil has done is he's provided these semi-clear, I know it's clear resin, but clear resin is very rarely clear, blocks that are molded to fit exactly the inserts here. And by sticking a simple bulb in the center of it, it acts as a giant fiber optic, and it lights up that entire block, which, voila, it lights up your entire console. Nice, even, no muss, no fuss. Now, I put a couple of extra holes in here for more lights because that's just me. But, and it'll shoot out just that much more light. But for the time it takes to wire up 3 bulbs, drill a hole, glue that in place, and then what I'll probably do is paint the back of it with either tulip or something to keep the the light blocking from the back of it. Maybe cover it with some tape. But you're done. It lights up the whole console. One nice chunk, very even, easy solution. So kudos to you, Gil. It's something else I've been working on this morning, and that's why I haven't seen a lot of activity. Been on the computer working on painting masks, obviously. Something that should have been in the set originally that I have overlooked until now, but I wanted to mask the front windows. So here you go. Now we can paint that frame a nice metallic. Well, first I'll paint it with a primer coat and then put a silver over that to give you a nice window frame. And I'll cover the back just with tape to keep it protected while we're painting the rest of it. Okay, I've got some gray on the walls, and not just the primer gray. This is the, you can see the difference between the primer, which is the lighter color, and the darker gray, which is a dark sea gray, ironically enough. And I also got a coat of the gunmetal on the cage, so that we're starting to see some color contrast between, let's see if we did something like that, so you'd see the difference between the three colors. Now what I'm going to do is make the consoles here a slightly bluer gray, to not, just something that's a cooler gray, to have them stand out a little bit more, so that when I put the decals over them and the lights behind them, they will stand out from the walls. And then of course I've got I'm not going to use beige. I'm going to go with deck tan, I think, for these other walls. Make it look less. I know Irwin Allen had a tendency to use beige and gray and beige and silver and beige and orange and beige and spam, eggs, bacon and spam. But I'm going to make this a little bit more darker than the typical Irwin Allen beige. I know a lot of the color is affected by the lighting and all that kind of good nonsense. So, but rather than just because I just did beige on that tug and I'm tired of it, I'm going to go with a little bit darker tan. Okay, while other things are off stage drying, it's time to turn my narrow focus, my laser-like focus, my beam of intensity onto making the light box for this. And basically what that is going to do is hold the three, count them, 1, 2, 3 lights. There are 3 lights that go back here for the reactor. So what I want to do is make a box that holds them at a distance from the diffusing material. So simple 4-wall box, 4 walls and a back. Okay, just to give you a short orientation, this fits in the wall in the cockpit or the cabin at about an angle like that, which is about 15 degrees, I think, maybe a little less. And you have to make sure you don't run the risk of making the back of your light box bump against the ceiling. Now, this is the bunk piece, and it shows you where that the limitations are, because this is pretty much designed to go up against the ceiling. So if I take this and stack that in front of it, that gives me a pretty good idea of what my limitations are for making sure the box doesn't bump against the ceiling. And I think we're in great shape because the top of that is actually close to the edge of the bunk there. So if we, as long as we don't make anything too squared off, I think we should be in good shape. That would be a good starting point or a good reference. And here's the box. And if you follow my builds, you know my mantra, which is it doesn't have to look good, it just has to work. When referring to backstage, what I call backstage elements, I'm just cleaning up a little bit of the detritus. So there. Yes, all of the angles aren't perfect and it's not clean and all of that. But it's going to go on the wall just like that, and I'm going to drill 3 holes for bulbs. And just to snazz it up just a little bit more, using my friend the foil tape, and I'm going to put that in the inside to bounce the light around yet even more. Okay, I'm testing the lighting now using the clip from Rob. I tried to give him an air of mystery in the last video, and I heard back from him. So yes, Rob, the Schmidster. This is going to be called forever the Schmidt clamp. So whenever I'm in a tough situation, I use the tough Schmidt, because this is the Schmidt clamp. But here's the box. Now again, like the lights in the hopper, the longer you let them live, the longer you let them light up, the more off sync they go with each other. So you let them, they all kind of start out blinking the same, but then they'll go they'll go out of sync with each other. So that's what the box looks like with the foil inside. Now let's put the wall in front of it. I'm going to try to do this with one hand. Let me see, I need to set this up on something so that the bulbs don't pop out, but let's just do that. There you go. You see how that's how the wall looks from the side, and that's how the reactor is going to look. Very nice, very happy. Now this is 9 volts, and I've noticed that when I put 12 volts through it, which I probably will end up doing, the bulbs, they will get a little bit more energetic, and you'll see more yellows and whites in it. I think that is a function of the higher voltage. So once those are in, I'll get even more color variations. Right now it seems to be blue, red, yellow, greens, but there you go. Just finished painting this wall and put some see, this is what's happening. The bulbs aren't sticking in. They aren't staying in the holes because I got to epoxy them in. But once I have epoxied those in and put this on the wall, now I can't glue this to the wall because I've got a lot of detail going on in the front yet. But there you go. And then I'm going to run some fibers to the, I think I'm going to run fibers to those boxes below, or I just might run a straight, put a couple 3 mils in each one, or one 3 mil in each one. But in one last shot showing that the top of the wall does stay within inside that realm of where the ceiling's going to come down, so that it doesn't get hit. Even after I have epoxied these in place, I won't have to do too much bending down to get the wire to follow the correct contour. Sorry, squeaky chair. And this is where we're going to stop for this evening, because thank the maker, I have orders coming in and I need to be plotting those. So these, they look a little bit bluer on the camera than they actually do. So forgive me on that. But I've got those walls painted. I've got the bunk painted. I've got a lot of stuff painted and sparsed out around the house. So what I'm going to do is let that stuff dry all overnight, and then tomorrow hit everything with a coat of satin, since I went and got a new can of it, so that I could put the decals on these, and that'll be fun. Okay kids, it's Friday, and Friday is the last day of working for the week. So what are we going to do today? Same thing we do every day, Pinky. We are going to put decals on these panels, which have been setting up overnight. Now the problem is, well, not the problem, because it's good news for me, is I've got an order to plot today, which means noisy. So I'm going to do whatever I can off screen, because I can't have the plotter running and ruining my recording. So next time you see they will probably have decals on them. Okay, there's a bit of a lull in the plotting today, so I can take a little bit of time to show you the panels with the decals on it. And if it proves anything, it proves the value of staying away from something, or the value of leaving it alone. You know this is Solvaset. You put that on decals. It also makes the decals ugly, but they get wrinkled, but they will flatten out if you leave them the frack alone. Here are Paul's decals on this panel, and I gotta tell you, let me get a focus on that. Look how lovely. I mean, you can't tell. That's a painted gray outline, or the painted gray panel with a clear decal. That background of the background of the panel is not on the decal. Look how, now if I put it in just the right light, you can see the edges of the decal. But I'm going to be spraying over top of this now that everything is sealed in. But look how it sucks down around the raised detail on the photo etch. You just can't get better than that. And this one, I discovered what I needed to do in some cases was to go back with a very sharp X-Acto and just pierce the decal in a couple of spots to get rid of the trapped water and air. Plus, it lets it settle down. It hunkers down and sucks in around all the detail. And if you let things go and don't pick at them, you get decals that turn out like that. Look at that. That's a decal over top of a silver painted shape. That silver is not in the decal. Good man, Paul. He does good work. I have high hopes for him. So you can see some of the wrinkles there that I'm still working out, but those will all disappear. They will suck down in. And here's the panel with the light on behind it, and I'm really digging the amount of light that's coming through here. Sometimes you have a tendency to want to overlight things and the lights aren't in scale and it looks like a tanning bed instead of a little indicator light. And believe it or not, there is a light. These are lit from behind. So let me turn the overhead light off and you can see the difference, hopefully. Yeah, look at that. You can see the lights. See, those are lights. But they're coming through the decal perfectly. Okay, and mocking up as I am prone to do, I want to show you as much as we have gotten done. This is as much as going to get done for this week. I want to let those decals set overnight at least before I flat coat them, and so that will happen on the next report. But look inside there and see the nice reactor. And you can see the wiring is nicely down and tucked in so that when I put the top on, everything will be fitting nicely. There you go. Okay, looking in there, you can really see now where I'm going to need to add some auxiliary lighting, because when this is closed off, it's mighty dark in there. So yes, you get a lot of white light from the reactor wall, and I have not lit up the panels yet. They're in, but I don't have any lights behind them, so I'm not going to see that. But it's also telling me that I'm going to want to put that tiny light in. I got some of those surface mounts just for that reason, but there's going to want to be one right by the door here, and then one over the bunk. Then we'll see how much more needs to be added after that. I really don't like this. I'm going to have to either cover it up or sand it down or do something, but I don't like that. It's so obvious and right up in front of your face that I need to do something with it. Well, it's tough to find a good angle, but there you can see the lights on that back panel. Yeah, let's see if I can go in through the window here. Yeah, behind the chair. Yeah, you can see it in the background there. Obviously easier through here where you're not going to have that view once the roof is on. Now I had to undo the reactor wall because the effect of that was just overpowering, and plus this battery is starting to drain, and having all those lit at the same time was making that flicker as well. But boy, those look good. Nice and even. Sweet. And that is, as they say, that for another week. Glad you could stop by. Hope you enjoy what we're doing with the new flying sub. The old flying sub that I am newly working on. It's good to dust off something from the old stash every once in a while. Ooh, we got some. Next week we're going to be doing lighting, tackling the lighting. A lot of intricate stuff here, a lot of circuits, a lot of. I haven't even talked about lighting the main headlights or the the front console or anything like that. So the reactors in the back, they get lit. So, and how to put all this onto a stand, I still haven't figured out what kind of stand I'm going to use for it. That's going to be fun too. So until next week when we pick this all back up, have a good week, have a good weekend. Be good to each other. And I will see you back here next time.